If I were to ask you what the most produced fruit or vegetable in the world is, a few things might come to mind. Carrots and tomatoes are common answers. Other guesses might include eggplant, squash, or apple. However, none of those take the top spot. That title belongs to the well-known, humble, and surprisingly durable potato. Yes, the same thing you forgot about in your pantry last month. The potato, despite being one of the most consumed and produced plants in the world, was not widely accepted until about 2 centuries ago. It was often seen as a peasant food. This is because the potato comes from the Andes Mountains and was first domesticated by the Incas. When it made its way to Europe, many people distrusted it simply because it came from the New World. It also did not help that potatoes looked questionable. Their misshapen appearance reminded some people of diseases like leprosy, which is not exactly a great marketing strategy for a food. However, skepticism started to fade once people realized how durable and reliable potatoes are. They could survive harsh climates, including places like Ireland, which is one of the reasons they became a major crop there in the 17th century. By the 18th century, more and more of Europe had accepted the potato. Turns out, being hard to kill is a very good trait for food. Another reason potatoes were labeled as a peasant food is that they were heavily relied on by the rural poor. They grow quickly, require relatively little maintenance, and produce a lot of food. At one point, it was estimated that about 90% of the Irish diet for peasants consisted of potatoes, which sounds efficient until it really isn't. This dependence led to the well-known Irish potato famine from 1845 to 1848, when potato crops failed and about 1 million people died. It is one of the most clearest examples of why putting all your dietary eggs in one basket is a bad idea, or in this case, putting all your potatoes in one field. With such a strong association as a poor person's food, you might wonder how potatoes became so popular worldwide. There are a few reasons. One story involved a noble prisoner who was forced to eat potato mash for 3 years and ended up liking it. Not the worst prison outcome of all things considered. Another story involves Thomas Jefferson. When he visited Paris, he probably enjoyed dishes made from potatoes, including what were described as deep fried potatoes in small cuttings. Today we call those fries. Scientifically speaking, a potato is a tuber, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which means it is a swollen part of a stem that grows in the ground. The potato plant also produces a flower above ground, and you should not eat it. It is actually toxic and cause stomach issues. While it cannot kill you, you will be sick for some time. So if you ever thought about eating the flower, maybe just don't. There are thousands of different types of potato, but they are generally grouped into three main categories. Starchy potatoes are high in starch and have a dry, fluffy texture. These are ideal for baking and frying. Waxy potatoes are low in starch and more fucking speak today. More moist and firm. They hold their shape well when cooked, making them great for soups, salads, and casseroles. All-purpose potatoes fall somewhere in between and can be used for just about anything. They are the multitasker of the potato world. Russet potatoes are probably the most recognizable. They are commonly used for fries and are the standard for places like McDonald's and Burger King, specifically the Idaho russet. Idaho became famous for potatoes partly because people claim fries tasted better when made from potatoes grown there. Whether that is science or state pride is up for debate. Red potatoes are waxy, which means they are great for dishes where you want them to keep their shape. Boil or roast them and throw them on top of something and you're good to go. Sweet potatoes, despite the name, are actually different from regular potatoes. They are more nutrient dense and tend to be more expensive. Also, they are the reason people argue every November about whether marshmallows belong on vegetables. Yukon Gold potatoes are all-purpose, meaning you can pretty much do whatever you want. They are the safe choice when you can't decide, which honestly makes them the most reliable potato. Like with my pepper video, there are way too many different varieties to cover here. I focus on the ones you are most likely to see in the grocery store, and the ones that the most common I use. If your favorite potato is missing, it is not personal. The potato world is just very crowded. Potatoes are also surprisingly healthy. They are rich in starch, vitamin C, and vitamin B6. They also contain fiber, but only if you leave the skin on. Of course, once you deep fry them, they become a little less healthy. Still delicious though, which is really what matters. Sweet potatoes are often considered one of the healthiest plants out there, which helps explain their higher price. You're basically paying for nutrients and a slightly different color. Globally, about 380 million metric tons of potatoes are produced every year, with countries like China and India leading the way. Now I got curious and did some math. If the average potato weighs 0.5 kilograms, that means roughly 2.55 trillion potatoes are produced every year. That works out to just over 300 potatoes per person on Earth. So technically, you have a lot of potatoes. You're just not managing your inventory very well. Or if every potato were turned into chips, That would be about 570 billion bag of chips. That gives each person in the world around 70 bags, which sounds great until you realize you will probably eat that all in a week.